And next up would be the second game I watched on a Sunday, where I basically just sat in the pub and had some glasses of claret. It was wonderful. I particularly enjoyed this game, mainly because Man City didn't win, but also because, well, I mean, Gervinho's misses were brilliantly comic.
Gervinho could have had a hat-trick.
Yes.
I mean, definitely should have had a hat-trick. I mean, the first chance was the shot from the edge of the area was a good chance, but the second one, in the closing minutes of the first half, if I remember rightly, was, I don't know, either a lapse of concentration or just a genuine inability to control the ball on a first touch. But
oh, that was the worst.
Just bounced off his foot. There was no element of control in that whatsoever.
I think Fat Ronaldo would have had a better first touch than that, which says a lot for Gervinho, because it was appalling. But the good thing is that Arsenal look okay.
There's a corner being turned there, isn't there?
There is. I particularly like the signing of Cazorla. I think he's a fantastic player, and he's already shown that he was an absolute steal. 9 million they paid for him or something.
I don't know if it was 9 or 12 in the end.
Oh, no, it was possibly 12. Yes, good point. Again, an absolute steal, given that Joe Allen costs, I believe it was 16 million pounds for Liverpool. So it swings and roundabouts. You can either steal off a club that would probably sell its own kidneys to make some money in Malaga, or you can go to Swansea, a club that's doing particularly well, and be ripped off for Joe Allen. But they've done extremely well with that, and it's good to see Podolski playing in English football.
That's my favourite signing of the summer, I think, Podolski.
He's a player I never thought would come to the UK.
He's never been a prolific goalscorer either.
No.
You look at his record for Cologne, and granted he usually played as a supporting striker in the 4-3-3 formations that we see in the Premier League right now, or on the left wing, but certainly the goals that he's brought to Arsenal so far are probably the highlight of their season to date. Well, that and Laurent Koscielny's absolute pile driver.
Yes, Laurent Koscielny demonstrating the sort of striker's awareness that Emil Heskey would presumably love to possess. We wish him all the best. So the next game we're due to talk about is another one involving a North London side. It's Tottenham versus Queen's Park Rangers. I'm
going to start this one off by saying from a neutral perspective just how very strong QPR looked going forward in the first half. It was lovely to see a Kieran Dyer sighting for the first time since 2005.
He is rather like an endangered creature. You need to see him just so you know that he's still there. And
absolutely.
You don't have to put out one of those warnings not to go near him.
He is hoping this isn't going to be another one of his annual, outings, and that he'll actually stay fit for a run of games this time.
Brief first team foray. Yes, QPR were very impressive in the first half. Really unlucky not to have scored 2 or 3. Brad Friedel was in exceptional form, keeping out a man who's, I think, not that far off being half his age. Lloris is about 24, perhaps?
24, 25.
And Brad Friedel must be about...
He's 41.
I was going to say 80, but yes, no, 41, that's more accurate. He played exceptionally well. Spurs went to 4-4-2 at half-time, and the rest is history. The first goal was very, very lucky, but their play probably warranted it. And then the second one, you could say it was lucky that Defoe was right next to an empty goal, but then again, he's Jermaine Defoe, he's in fantastic form, you should be marking him, and Gareth Bale had just hit the bar, so swings and roundabouts.
Very unfortunate for Fowler to concede the own goal after a positive comeback from such a long injury layoff.
Yes, very much so. It's worth remembering also that QPR now haven't won in 16 away games, which is...
So that's no away win for Mark Hughes.
No away win for Mark Hughes. Their last away victory came against Stoke City, of all teams, back in November 2011, so it could well end up being a year. They're getting rather like Fulham, notorious for never winning away from home. Again, QPR should perhaps take some lessons off John Terry and how to play away from home.
Oh, not again.
Yep, that's number 4, I believe.
Going back to Saturday's action then, another fantastic performance by Everton. I mean, a simply controlling performance against a team that's been one of the standout performers of the first segment of the season.
Well, Swansea have actually... I'd like to point out now how much Swansea have messed up my fantasy league team. by just basically not winning. Mishu's goals completely dried up.
Starting to look like a flash in the pan, that one.
A little bit, but they have had some tough games. I mean, you wouldn't perhaps have thought that Everton would go and win 3-0 at the Liberty Stadium. Again, a ground that's very difficult to win on, but they did, and they were very good value for it. I watched them on Monday against Newcastle, and they were robbed, it's fair to say, by not only bad luck, but also terrible decisions, which brought into question the need for goal line technology, which is another discussion you can find on the armchairpundits.com. Did you read my article, Rob?
I did indeed. If you scroll down to Monday the 17th of September on the armchairpundits.com, you'll find Chris's article discussing the latest goal line technology argument, well worth 5 minutes of your time.
Good plug. So next up was Southampton.
Good to see a promoted team come out and control a game for possibly the first time this season. I'm going to say that because West Ham don't control games, they just punch and counter-punch. But I honestly thought that in the second half especially, Southampton were the only side in Saturday's encounter with an Aston Villa team that looked like they are in a lot of trouble. Yes,
Aston Villa are a difficult one. We were discussing them earlier, and we came to the conclusion that they should be playing Charles Ndogbia, and that beyond him their squad is extremely thin, and they're very limited. And no matter how good a manager Paul Lambert is, and he obviously is a very good manager, he's got a very tough job there, and not one that anyone else would probably want to have, I'm gonna say.
Don't think so right now. Is that squad good enough to keep Villa up for you?
He may be good enough, but the squad isn't. Not without additions. Benteke, and if they can find another player with Benteke plus a bit, that would be great for just the people who like comedy out there. But it's just not good enough, simply.
I can't think of any.
No, me neither. One for the listeners.
Bentner could be as close as they'll get, I guess.
That's a good one, but I think we should once you close your borders up to players like Bentner, you have a better Premier League. So
yeah, that's not a man I want to see back in the Premier League anytime soon.
We should keep that.
We'll move swiftly away from Nicholas Bentner, as any sensible football manager would do, and talk about Newcastle's 1-0 win over Norwich at the weekend, the final game of the weekend. Demba Ba making a statement on his return to the starting lineup.
Yeah, very much so. It's interesting with Newcastle that they felt so confident in their ability to beat Norwich City, who actually had a couple of chances that they saw fit to give Papis Cisse, who, rather like Rufus Smalls in the famous film My Batter England Manager, couldn't hit the side end or the back end of a Renault Espace, I think the phrase is, and blasted his penalty over after being bullied and cajoled into taking it by his optimistic teammates. Norwich are in trouble, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Can't score for love nor money.
No, it's been a tough start to the season for Norwich. They don't quite appear to be fully understanding of Leeds United's actual lineup, so they're not really sure how to deploy their collection of former Leeds United footballers. Snodgrass on the left, behind Holt and Jackson, looks almost uncomfortable, to be honest. I would suggest that he's the kind of player in the Premier League that you could make a decent target man out of. They've got other players who can play on the wing, and he's a man of size, so why not put him in the middle and use him? Good
question. One for Chris Hughton. And our final Premier League segment, because we basically decided to leave out the boring teams, concentrates on West Brom, who have made an unbelievable start. Lukaku, he's pretty special, isn't he?
Lukaku, James Morrison's been very, very good.
Ben Foster is I think he's either the most valuable or the second most valuable goalkeeper in the league based on the number of shots to saves.
There's plenty of practice.
He does get plenty of practice. Not as much as Jaskalainen, Bolton.
No,
Bolton,
very true.
Sorry, West Ham. That's awful. I will be sacked after the next podcast for such a terrible mistake.
It's not true. We can't afford to pay his release clause.
Yeah, I've got... You should see my image rights. They're almost as big as Steve Bruce's. West Brom, yeah, they've been absolutely brilliant. They are, I think they're certainly in the top half, but let's see if we can find a table. Anyway, we're on the BBC website, just hunting around for mistakes.
They're third, aren't they? I think Everton are second. Oh no, that's after Saturday. Everton were second, West Brom were third, and Fulham fourth.
They are fourth, West Brom. Nosebleeds all round at the Hawthorns.
Fulham, we should point out, did actually manage an away win at the weekend, but I'll mitigate that by saying that they were away at Wigan.
It's also worth pointing out that Fulham don't win a lot of games away from home, is essentially the point.
They're not used to playing in stadiums of Premier League size.
No, very true.
I said Wigan lost at the weekend, but this, frankly, has still been a miracle start to the season for Wigan. They're averaging, it's nearly a point a game at the moment, up to the heady heights of 15th, which I think is the highest they've been in the Premier League since about 2006.
So, if you look at the bottom three, obviously you have Reading. They've only played 4 games with 1 point. They do look fairly in trouble. You have Queen's Park Rangers, who certainly, if they don't get a win against West Ham United on Monday, they will be in deep trouble. And you have Liverpool, perhaps not everyone's relegation candidates at the start of the season, or maybe they were.
2 draws, 3 defeats for Brendan Rodgers in his first 5 games, and he's got a squad there that doesn't fit his managerial philosophy. And I can only see that, as with Roy Hodgson 2 years ago, one thing is going to have to change there, and given that you can't fire and replace half the squad, it may well be Rodgers. Quick shout out to West Ham, actually, who are flying high in their return to the Premier League. Reading 20th, Southampton up after their win at the weekend with their first points to 16th. West Ham 9th after 2 wins and 2 draws from their 5 opening fixtures.
Only a point behind Man City.
Long may that remain.
Good for West Ham. That wraps up the football segment. Have we got anything else for today's first ever podcast, or are we're gonna have to call this one to a close? Right?
It's only 31 days until the NBA season starts, so I've only got another month of waiting and watching boring training videos.
That's what Rob does with his time. Perhaps we should find him. Send in your new things for Rob to do. It could be anything from cooking, cleaning.
Getting a job would be a good one.
That's one. Writing more for the Armchair Pundits. How about that, guys? That is something we want him to be doing.
Thanks.
Keep reading. Keep looking for new articles. We've got a new contributor this week, so say hello to James Raby. Hello.
Hi, James.
He'll hopefully be writing for us a bit more. In the meantime, you're going to have to put up with us too. Hope you enjoyed the first ever The Armchair Podcast, as we're going to be branding it. That's it from me, Chris King.
And me, Rob Schatten.
Thanks for listening. We've been The Armchair Pundits.